All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Black Carnivore channel. I appreciate your being here. I'm so excited to talk to you all today. And we have a special guest today that I'm really excited to introduce. So his name is Dr. Kwadjo, who, and his last name is much longer, and you can see it in the description. But he is an ICU doctor in at Ottawa Hospital. So that is really cool, coming from way up in Canada, and he's been doing a lot of interesting things. One of the things he has is a podcast called Solving Healthcare, and it's actually really interesting. You should definitely check it out. I saw a bunch of interviews with Rob Wolf and Ken Berry and some other Dr. Brett Scher and other people in the low carb space. And you recently did a conference, right? Or a summit, an online summit about low carb. So we should definitely. Is it available? Can we go back and watch it, or is it like
100%.
offline and gone?
100%. It's
Okay.
solvinghealthcare.ca/low carb.
Okay, so I'll find the link and I'll put it in the description below. But definitely, you want to make sure you check that out. And then let's see, based off of my notes, you've also started a multidisciplinary research working group to reduce healthcare spending without compromising care. So that is awesome. I'd love to hear about that. That's a resource optimization network. And then finally, I saw you did a bunch of interviews and you've spoken out pretty clearly and loudly about racism in healthcare. And, of course, that's a major problem in the U.S. as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Now, folks, everybody, today we have a very short time period for his interview and responses to our questions. So we're going to go about 30 or 35 minutes with him, and then I will continue on and we'll continue the conversation. So, but definitely put in questions if you have them in the chat box, and let's get started.
Let's do this.
Welcome.
First, can I say I'm excited to be on? Can I say that?
Yes,
This is a
please.
privilege, live and direct. Hey, Dave, Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, where do we start first? How did you? So how long have you been, part of the low carb space and treating patients that way and talking to them about it?
Well, honestly, it's fairly recent. The thing about low carb and keto that I've found fascinating is how little we get taught about it in medicine and how effective it is. And so my whole journey through it was like me being involved in in the ICU. I see the sickest of the sick. I've seen our COVID patients coming through, and it was very clear even early on that poor metabolic health was a risk factor for COVID-19. Abundantly clear. And so when you look at these things, and obviously we wanted to promote masking, hand washing, distancing, all these things. But then when you realize how quickly and effective you could reverse metabolic disease through either low carb, through keto, through fasting, through all these means, I'm like, how are we not preaching this to the world? What a sin, man.
Yeah.
Like, what is, especially like you guys got hit hard in New York,
Yeah.
but we like exceptionally hard. But in Canada, we had the peak, and then we had a extremely long periods where cases were going down. Our hospitals were never overrun, and so I'm telling myself and our team, like, we need to tell the world that this, like, getting healthy, metabolically healthy, is extremely important right now. Let them, like, inform them on the tools that are available, and start preaching.
Yeah.
Because this is like such an easy win. And knowing that you could reverse metabolic disease in weeks, you could reverse type 2 diabetes in weeks, and we're not throwing this down. So I was like, man, I'm a man on a mission. So yeah, we did a bunch of shows with Kim Berry, Jason Fong, Brett Scher, Rob Wolf, just to like get the background, get the foundation, Ivor Cummins, and we did this conference, and we just wanted to be able to say, hey, even as a frontline staff who sees the sickest of the sick, I want you to know that I don't want to see you in my hospital. I don't want to see you guys coming into ICU. And these are potentially the tools you could have in front of you to prevent that from happening. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what we got into that space. And I'm still preaching this hard because we're going into the quote unquote second wave, and it's never been more important to get your metabolic health on point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm like totally in agreement, and really, I mean, I have so many family members, and in the beginning they'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm so worried," and "Oh my God," and "I'm so anxious," and I just have to get a shake or a Coca-Cola. I need something to calm my nerves, and I'm like, "You're so worried about getting sick, and you're doing the thing that is going to make you sick." I mean, if you're worried about your immune system being able to fight off this virus, do not eat sugar and then go outside.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah, I
crazy.
mean, that message is like totally lost on, the public. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. And it's I don't need to tell you this, but like these refined carbohydrates, like they we go to them in stressful times. They increase your inflammation. They make you hungrier. Like it's just a vicious cycle. So yeah, I think more education the better. And I just hope that we could reach more and more people.
Yeah. And so you said you had an interview with Ken Berry. So you're, I guess, familiar with the carnivore diet. Do you know what we, what we do here?
Like I mean, I was trying to get. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. The super big guy. Shoot, what's his name? He said he was going to do the show too. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. But he's basically a carnivore doctor, big guy, 6'5", always has pics with his
Oh,
shirt.
Sean Baker.
Sean Baker, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm new to it. I'm familiar with the concepts. Like I have a colleague that went to it because she was having a lot of issues with allergies
Hmm.
and inflammation, and so she went carnivore for a month, and it basically cured her allergies. Um, but you know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't really care what you do as long as it improves your metabolic health. Because one thing I think is important is like a lot of this stuff isn't cookie cutter. Like, you might respond really well to
Hmm.
carnivore, but someone else might respond really well to plant-based. Like, I think the ticket is being flexible and realizing what works for you. And
Hmm.
if you're getting some mad results from carnivore, let it flow.
Hmm.
Keep hustling, man. It's just the end result is what's the most important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we're definitely seeing a lot of great success and a lot of people really, able to make some significant changes. And certainly for me, like allergies was a big problem, and my asthma went away when I was, went carnivore and then took out dairy. Those two things were definitely key. And yeah, it's made a huge difference for me, and for so many people here.
Do you miss
Yeah.
it? Do you miss it? Do you miss some of that?
Dairy? No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, at first I thought, oh, how am I going to go through life without cheese? And then a few days later, it was like, cheese? Like, what's that?
Isn't that
So,
amazing? How
yeah,
quickly you could adapt.
yeah, yeah. The candy was harder to give up. That was much harder. Yeah. So, and so you don't yet have a lot of experience like treating people using the carnivore diet, but I wonder what you would, if you would like look into that more and what you would think about it, because I don't know, it seems like people really struggle a lot with sugar addiction, and that the kind of the best way to root that out is to just get it out entirely, which can often be like an entirely carnivore approach.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm very open to anything as long as it gets you to your goals. And
Hmm.
carnivore, like I must say, like when I first heard about it, I was wondering, are you missing out on key elements in nutrition and so forth? And then I got to talk to um, ketogenic girl, Vanessa Spina, and she really opened
Hmm.
my mind and opened my eyes to how much nutrition you could actually get through the carnivore diet, like how, meat, you could still get all your basic vitamins, vitamin A, B12, all the stuff that you need. And and so this was extremely eye-opening and reassuring also too that the patients that I know that are on it can achieve their basic needs. So like I said, I'm all for whatever you need to get yourself healthier, and
Hmm.
don't close any doors.
Yeah. Well, we're a tight community here. We have a Facebook group, and we also do weekly. We do Zoom meetings 3 times a week, just for group coaching, basically to give us support. Because as you can imagine, living in a sugar-filled world, it's hard enough to do low carb, let alone carnivore. So we try to build a lot of support for ourselves. And I see a lot of people in the chat are, trying to let you know that we're all getting really great results, and we like to say that we have superpowers. We talk about what our new superpower is. Yeah, so some people heal very quickly. For me, I have a limitless energy, and I can kind of just go all day. And so we do like to try to focus on that so people understand like the benefits. And some are inviting you to come to one of our Zoom meetings so you can get to know and see all the people who are in the community and what we're doing. So,
Yes, most
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So we'll follow up with you on that. But yeah, definitely people feel like we're getting our nutrients. And you can see we all look good. So
I mean, you look fantastical. So I
thank
mean,
you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I saw your, what was it, 2015 picture? Did I
Hmm.
make that up? Like a picture from you back in
Yeah,
the day.
my before picture. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable transformation.
Yeah, yeah. And it continues. That's the thing with carnivore is, I had already lost most of my weight, but following a keto diet. So by the time I got to carnivore, it was really about like fine tuning health, and I was surprised at how much of a change there's been even since that. So it's not about weight, but it's all this other stuff. So it's really great. I do see some people are asking what you ate and what your health history was. You look pretty fit and everything, and so it doesn't seem like you came from, you weren't an experiencer in that sense, experiencing obesity, or
Uh,
were you?
yeah, I mean, I could speak a little bit to, I'm not a baby anymore. I'm like 43. I got 3 kids, 3 active sons. To me, it's very important to be fit and active and to be able to keep up with them. I try and get involved in their sports teams and all these kind of things.
Hmm.
Like up north, I play a lot of hockey, believe it or not, and so I've always been active. I've been a little bit like during the middle of my uh, training and as a physician, as a resident. Like I peaked
Hmm.
at 220, and I'm about 205 now, and my 220
Hmm.
was not like a good 220. I was probably about a good 10 pounds
Hmm.
huskier. Um, and and I used to just eat whatever, not
Hmm.
even think about it. And then, you get to a certain age where you can't do that anymore. And so since then, I've always been, since I got to that 220, I was more conscious of what I was eating, or timing of what I ate. Um, but the key for me is I've been a big fan of intermittent fasting. Like I've been doing that for 3 years, and
Hmm.
more for a bit like, to be, if I'm being 100% honest, it was mostly for convenience, just to kind of like
Hmm.
have my 2 meals a day where I'm just like approach it like a beast. Like destroyed my lunch and supper. But I got some great results. Like my body fat went down. I got stronger. Like definitely, I noticed, especially in a fasted state, I could
Hmm.
my workouts were way more productive. So yeah, that from a nutrition or diet approach, I was a pretty big fan of the intermittent fasting, and I've stuck with that. And then the other thing, I'm also cognizant of my carb intake. Like I'm not quote
Hmm.
unquote low carb, but you know, I don't. when I have the choice of carb or no carb, I'll go no carb or um but every once in a while I'm gonna go to town on like a pizza. Like it's just like I'll have my burger still with the bun, you know. But
So you haven't been fully convinced yet.
well, it's just once again you do it for it depends what your
Yeah.
goals are, right? So my goal is to stay fit, and right now I'm achieving that. But if I was having struggles with weight, energy, um, inflammation, allergies, any of those things, then I would
Hmm.
readdress that.
Yeah.
What's a funny thing though is my wife. She called me out on it too, though. She was like, "You're preaching all this shit. Are you allowed to cuss on this? Oh, you
Yeah.
can't cuss. Oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
preaching
It's
all this
okay.
shit." And she's like, "You should try keto or like try it." And I'm like, I mean, it's very common that she's right most of the time. And she brought up a good point. Like, if you're gonna preach something, you might as well like explore it. So I think it's in the cards. I don't know when I'm gonna try this, but yeah, I think I definitely gotta give it a whirl.
Well, like Ken Berry says, this is the perfect human diet. So you're human. So fit or not, what your goals are, why wouldn't you eat the perfect human diet? I mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, there's the approach if it ain't broke, but then there's also like sometimes you don't know how good it is until you try it. You know what I mean? Like maybe you do feel
Yep.
like you got that superpowers. You
Yep.
know, a
Well, I do try to tell people, and people don't really believe it until they experience it. And then it's like, oh, wow. So, yeah, I don't know. And for me too, like when I did well on keto and I was like, I feel great, this is the pinnacle of health. And then I decided to go ahead and give carnivore a try. And then after, a couple of months, it was like I realized that what I thought was the pinnacle of health before is just like the worst I feel on my worst days on carnivore.
oh,
So, yeah, I wouldn't have imagined that there was better, but there is better. And I wouldn't have believed anybody because, I never felt this good, because I never ate this way. I mean, even as a kid. So I do have to remind myself, that youth doesn't equal, or health and youth are not the same thing. And so I might have been able to get by with things younger, but I'm almost 50 now, so I can't get by with anything. I have to
you don't look
yeah.
it at all.
Well, thank you. Thank you. But, it is so. So,
It's a
um,
reality.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I do try to push people to give it a try, but I think you're gonna find you're gonna be pleasantly surprised, and I would love to hear how what you think about it and how it goes for you.
Oh, absolutely.
I definitely see some people encouraging you. Okay, so I do see a question though about how have you seen systemic discrimination toward the Black community manifested in the Canadian healthcare system? So yeah, if you could cover
So
that
you said systemic racism in the Black or any community?
in the
There's
Black community, how that's
yeah.
manifested in the Canadian healthcare system.
So there's so many levels. So there's we'll talk about at a patient-centric level. So you see traditionally when Black patients come in, they're less likely to get, for example, their pain meds. Like they'll get less pain meds when they come in with pain crisis, like for example, sickle cell. We don't see as many issues in terms of maternal fetal health like we do in the States where mothers and newborns have worse outcomes. That's not shown in the literature yet. We certainly saw worse outcomes amongst our COVID patients up in Canada, and
Can
whether
you tell
that's
me more about that? Like, why do you think that was?
the COVID.
Why there was
I,
worse outcome in the Black
I think
community?
it's. I mean, I think it's socioeconomics. I think it's the fact that a lot of our Black community are not having the higher jobs, or they don't have like their income isn't as high, nutrition is poor, living in smaller quarters with, potential multi-generational homes, like all these kind of risk factors that we know
Mm-hmm.
for COVID. I wouldn't say, and like the way systemic racism plays into it is, for example, one of the unfortunate things in the education system is they call it
Mm-hmm.
streaming, where at grade 9 they like a teacher kind of guides you to whether you're going to go to something more academic versus something more like hands-on, like mechanic or tradesman or whatever. And if
Mm-hmm.
you notice in Ontario, there's a lot more like black kids being pushed towards the non-academic stream, which is like horrible, and
Mm-hmm.
so like an example from a professional level is one of the recent valedictorian for our University of Toronto, our biggest medical school. She was the only black person in her class of 256 in our most diverse city in the country, and the like she went through blatant racism where teachers were like, is there a quota? Is this affirmative action? Like, what are you doing here, kind of thing? And
Wow.
yeah, and but like to say that in a class that size in a city this big, that big, when there's only one black student was criminal. And so she stepped like addressed it, went to the university saying like what's going on here. Now
Mm-hmm.
this upcoming class has 22 black students in it. So it's really something, like she's pretty special. Her name's Chika Oruiwa. It's a tough name to say, but yeah, she's just she's a queen.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it runs deep. Like I mean, there's like, from a systemic level, yeah, like I said, you get treated differently as a patient, less access to care, less attention given to you, and then there's just less of us at the table. I mean,
Right.
I'm in a hospital right now that's one of the biggest hospitals in North America. I can't name more than half a dozen black doctors in
Mm-hmm.
a relatively multicultural city. Like it's just it's really unfortunate, but we're all doing our part now. Like we started a Black youth mentorship group um,
Mm-hmm.
within Solving Healthcare. The University of Ottawa here, they did the same thing. Started a Black mentorship program for students, just increasing the
Does that
awareness.
program include discussion of diet? I mean, are you gonna encourage people even in their younger years to stay away from carbs and?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like I think the main objective of the group is to just let them know, like give them the tickets to how to get into medicine, how to give them the inspiration and the mentorship that they could achieve whatever their goals are. The nutrition part, I think is just it's lacking in all of medicine. Like it really
Mm-hmm.
is. And so, I think we are trying to preach it as much, not just to the black community, but like to all the youth coming through, like all the young medical students coming through,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not going to get it anywhere else. They're not going to get it in their classes and so forth. So, like, I mean, shows like yours, shows like ours, we try and target
Mm-hmm.
young docs so that they know that these tools are available for them. And,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a good point that you make. Like, it's good for them to get access early in terms of the powers of you know
Well, I mean, what we've found in our group is that, this really has a huge impact on brain function, on mood. And so, like, even doing something hard, like getting through medical school, I assume, like, you can't be depressed. You've got to be, pretty sharp and mentally focused. And so, eating in a way that's going to support that is only going to benefit, any young person who's trying to do something like this. I mean, if you're facing, major obstacles, like, you got to be on your A game. And the best way there is, well, in my opinion, is a diet based on animal products.
yeah,
So,
yeah, I mean, whatever it takes, right? Like whatever anything that will give you optimal health, like I think
mm-hmm.
is awesome. And so like I think if just preaching more on the benefits is important. And yeah, no, I hear where you I see where you're throwing down.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here. I mean, we created this community to support people who are interested in eating this way and to just to provide the support necessary. But that does require like a lot of re-education. You know, we've been taught for all of our lives that sugar is no problem and that your weight problems are your own fault and because you can't control yourself, and any metabolic disease is, you know, that's just the bad luck of the draw. You didn't get good genes. But none of that is true. So, you know, we have to teach ourselves otherwise. And, but, you know, we're facing like, you know, billions of dollars are spent in marketing and selling all of these kinds of products. So for us to think that we could just say, oh, no, I don't want any more Lay's, you know, I don't need one more. Is absurd because, you know, people like this is real money, you know, this is real industry, and they're very intent on marketing to us. So you know, as young as we can get to people, and for them to understand how you know, our brains are being hijacked by these foods and by these marketing companies, that their sole intent is to hijack our brains without our knowledge or consent, so that we can become, you know, dutiful customers for the rest of our lives. Like, people need to know that. And if, you know, if you're going to go and do something hard, like go through medical school, like, you need all your brain cells. I shudder to think all that I've lost from the junk that I ate, you know, up before my brain even finished developing, right? Because your brain doesn't finish developing until you're, what, 25? Like, you know, it's a miracle. It's a miracle I'm here and able to put together these sentences. So yeah, I lived off candy as much as I could get.
No, I hear you. I to me, it some of the what it, like, this is not scientific, but it's like that feeling you get after you know, when I have that full pizza or when I have that huge starchy meal. How do you feel an hour or two after, right? You're just
Hungry.
like
Ready for dessert
and wiped out and wanting to nap.
Yeah.
You know, like, I definitely hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I don't want to keep you longer than you're able. So, and we're coming up right on 7:30. So, do you have any other, you know, thoughts or things that you would like to share with the community? You know, we're always excited to see people who are coming out and talking about low carb, and especially, you know, people of color. Like, you know, it's helpful to see someone, you know, who looks like you to speak about, you know, your health and the health issues. I mean, we understand that racism is, you know, big part of healthcare, and so it is important for us to be at the table, to be in the room, and to, you know, and to be here as a support for others.
Yeah, I want to say, Eddie, like, the stuff you guys are doing is proper and is necessary, because people, like I said, if you as a doctor, we're not getting this information, we're not learning about it, we're certainly not getting it out. But when you guys preach your stories and people see the winning, like the ability of you guys turning your weight, metabolic health, the way you feel, and you're your own testimony, that is so powerful. When you got a story to tell about this and it's relatable, our community will see this and realize they could be just like you. So this is why I'm saying it's so important what you're doing. I love the energy. I love the devotion. I love the dedication. I love the fact that you got 3 Zoom meetings a week, giving that coaching up.
Yeah.
Like, that's real. Like, I think this is the kind of steps we need, the momentum to be able to really transform health. Because I'll tell you this, the stuff you're doing, I could promise you, could prevent people from coming into our ICUs. Okay, COVID or not COVID, you get metabolically sound. Because when I go through my ICU, whether it's cancer related, stroke, heart attack, you know, respiratory disease, all comes down to poor metabolic health. So,
Hmm.
whatever you're doing, low carb, carnivore, keep it up, man. Just it's too important.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I
Yeah.
hope that I can get you to come to one of our Zooms. If well, I'll follow up with you and maybe we can get you in. But that would be really be great because we do have a pretty awesome community and it's growing, by leaps and bounds. So there'll be lots of people there for you.
I would love, yeah, I love hearing the stories and
Hmm.
get motivated.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I will see you soon and thanks a lot for coming by. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. So, unfortunately, the doctor wasn't able to stay for very long, but I think we got a good, we had a nice conversation. We got to talk about a couple of things. So, I enjoyed that. So I'm going to stick around for a little bit longer and let's talk a little bit about what we heard. So, let me know if you have any questions. And hey, Travis, it's great to see you here. I'm so glad you dropped by. It's actually, I wanted to, just say I'm really liking what you're doing on Reddit. Travis is a moderator for a couple of different subreddits on Reddit, so you should definitely check those out. But he is one for the zero carb diet. Arian, you like Dr. Kwadjo. I'm making sure I said that right. Yeah, definitely. It was really exciting to have an opportunity to hear from him, and I love how enthusiastic that he got over trying a diet that actually produced results. I mean, that's the most important thing, is to not be so tied to the dogma, but to actually look at the results. And if you're seeing people improving, then, go for it, support it, and lean into it. So that's really awesome. Oh, yeah. Thanks for coming back in and writing a note. Thanks a lot. All right. So anybody else have any questions? I know I saw a few things go by earlier that I thought were interesting. Um, oh yes, I see Seabliss says, yeah, I'm learning like 3 different things right now. It's all tech related. So I think that was in reference to my comment about, how much your brain function can improve and how much better you can get. I agree that this way of eating is, has just really transformed the way that I think and the way I operate, and I see it in other people and other carnivores. There's just a lightness in mood and ability to focus, a lot of energy that is, that's a hallmark of eating this way. So I definitely recommend that people, keep trying to go with that. Okay, so let's see. Any? Oh yeah, I see. Delisa asks, "Am I still fasting?" So I am still fasting. We had a discussion yesterday, as some of you may know, like I have still been handling eczema, so it comes and goes. It gets better or worse. But I recently watched a video with Dr. Ken Berry and realized that he was talking about salicylates and their impact on eczema, and that led me into a bit of a wormhole researching about all of these different things, and I realized that there's quite a few things that I could be removing from my diet that might actually improve my eczema and really take me further. So I decided I had already removed coffee, but apparently caffeine is also exacerbates eczema, so it's good that I took that out. But also spices, they have a lot of salicylates, and tea, that sort of thing. So I really have just pared it down to meat, salt, and water. So no spices, no pepper, no nothing. And pork apparently has something in it that inhibits the enzyme that helps break down histamines in the body, and that can make eczema and other things worse. So I also am not having pork. So I'm trying to stick to the ruminant animals, salt, and water. So that's been delightful. And I had like a cup of peppermint tea a couple of days ago, and it was like a huge impact. So anyway, I decided to start fasting as a way to also bring down the inflammation, and then continue on with really removing all of the things that could be an irritant. So that's what I'm doing. And Delisa and Esther decided to join me, so really excited that I have a little bit of help. I am doing okay, but I am a little hungry. I'm not sure about tomorrow morning. By 10:30 tonight, that'll be 24 hours. So I guess if I make it to 24, I will make it to 36, and then I'll just have breakfast. So Delisa, please tell me how your fast is coming along, and if any of you are also fasting, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. As you probably know, I haven't been a huge fan of fasting, but it can be very effective for certain things, and certainly for inflammation, it can be really helpful. So I've definitely found that to be the case. So that's what I'm gonna do. Studzy Nubian, I'm sorry, the doctor only had a half an hour to talk with us today. So, we will get him back to one of the Zoom meetings, and then, we'll be able to ask more in-depth questions, and, we'll be able to do that. But sorry about that, but you can always watch in the replay. And I will stick around for and have a little bit more conversation. If you have any questions, let me know. Just type them in the box. So, but I'd love to hear Delisa too. Let me know how your fasting, your fasting day went. And I see Pandemic Carnivore is looking to start fasting again soon. Hey Mia, it's great to see you. Okay, so Ronnie is doing a 42-hour fast 3 times a week. Wow. So that sounds like you must eat one meal a day every other day, or is that how that works? And I guess it's Thanksgiving in Canada on Monday. So Pandemic Carnivore, you'll have to let me know if you're having some kind of celebration, or are you going to keep it carnivore or what? And see, Asada, you're doing your carnivore journey. You're on day 8, and it's going well. That's fantastic. I'd love to hear more about that. Let me know. Let me know how you're coming with that and what you're doing. Let's see. And our Thanksgiving is in November, the end of November. And Mia's decided no more fasting until you're fat adapted. Yeah, I think that is really the best idea. Fasting really works best when your body is able to burn your body fat for energy. And if you can't do that, it's going to be really, really hard. And, it doesn't take too long to get to the point where you're fat adapted, but, it definitely makes it easier to transition into this way of eating if you are eating as often, as you're hungry, and you don't put those kind of restrictions on. But later on, some people really do enjoy fasting, so that's something to think about later. And and Delisa said she is dry fasting, so that's awesome. So we did discuss dry fasting, especially as a tool to deal with inflammation. So I'm not encouraging you all to do that, but dry fasting is when you eat no food and drink no water or liquids. It's just dry. And if you do Ramadan or something like that, that's a dry fast where from sunup to sundown there's no food or liquid that's being consumed. it's okay. I mean, you obviously have to be concerned or careful if you're in a hot environment, but otherwise it can be fine. But I'm not encouraging you all to do that, and definitely don't do it for more than a day. But it can be helpful in terms of getting rid of inflammation. So we had decided to do that last night, but that did not work out for me. So I have had some beverages today. I'm sorry to Lisa. Again, I get people going and I get them on board with doing something, and then I am not fully there. So I did the fast, but I drank water, and I'm sorry to Lisa. And if Esther, if you're here too, I'm sorry. But perhaps my next one, I will do it dry. So, and Arian, I'm sure you're going to call me out on that. Ronnie, says it's way easier to fast when you're fat adapted. Absolutely. And let's see. And Mia had a whole stick of butter today. It was hard. It was hard to have the stick of butter, or the stick of butter was hard. Either way, you eat as much fat as you need to. So if you're like fighting cravings, it's okay. Just eat what you need to, because it doesn't, you'd be surprised at how quickly your appetite rights itself. So it's not too hard. Let's see. Arian says, did I get too thirsty? I did not get to, well, I forgot, really. There was a glass of water by my bed and I drank it. And then, after that drank more, and so there you go. Like, I got to put a Post-it note or something so I remember when I get up that this is what I'm doing. Yes, C Bliss, we did agree to dry fast. It's certainly not a requirement, but that was something that we had talked about. Bayat in Sopo, Ramadan obviously goes on for a month, or I guess even perhaps even more than a month. So, but it's a fast from sunup to sundown, and it's dry during those hours. So, thanks to Lisa. I'm so glad you're proud of me. Thank you. I know, Arian, I forgot. I'm sorry. So, but I think, I do think that, fasting alone, even if you're not doing it dry, is very effective. So there isn't necessarily a need to add the additional burden of no liquids. But yes, Seabliss, sometimes we go to the extreme. But I find that I have difficulty managing my hydration. So it actually seems better when I don't consume any water, because I tend to just not get enough electrolytes in, and then it leads me towards a headache. That's the problem I have, and I find it's easier to avoid that headache when I do it dry. So and I see Pandemic Carnivore says, I definitely will not be dry fasting ever. Just like egg pudding, not doing egg pudding ever. But Arian says dry fasting is something he's especially good on. So I'd love to hear more about that, Arian. Not everybody likes to do it, but it is something. And Ronnie is here to support the egg pudding against Deb maligning it. It, evidently, I have not had this egg pudding, but evidently it's got quite a big fan base. So maybe don't make fun of it, Pandemic. Does anybody have any more questions? Because I love to kind of help people follow this way of eating. And as I said to the doctor, we really need a lot of support. I wasn't kidding when I said that there's, billions of dollars being spent to get us to eat food or eat products that aren't even food, that they are just, they are just made of chemicals and, random materials. They are not food. So it's hard for us to push back against that, and we can't do it alone. And we really need to have like a community and support and people who are continuing to reiterate the message that we understand a better way to eat, a healthier way to eat. Um, so that's what we got to do. Let's see. Seabliss says, I refuse to do any kind of forced fasting. Yeah, don't do it. You don't have to at all. Like I said, I'm trying to reduce my inflammation as quickly as possible, and fasting is very effective at doing that. um, so let's see, there's more joke about the about the egg pudding. Let's see. Bait Insopo says dry fast 2 days a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Oh, okay, awesome. So I didn't know that you regularly do that. So if you could give us a little bit more background on that. I mean, I know that there are definitely people who have been, really big fans of the dry fasting. So and definitely even outside of the carnivore or keto community, there are people, or even the fasting community, there are people who do it. I've definitely seen people just pick up, say, oh, well, I saw they do this in the Bible, so I'm going to do it, and they do it. So it's doable. It may not be super comfortable, but it's doable. I think that there is they talk about doing a soft fast versus a hard dry fast. So the soft fast would be you still brush your teeth, you take a shower, stuff like that. And a hard dry fast, you stay away from all liquids. Of course, your body is an organ, so you can absorb, fluid and liquid through your skin. So, that's something to think about, but you don't have to necessarily get that hardcore. I took a shower today for sure, and brushed my teeth, and took medication. So, there you go. Um, okay, so you do, Bayet says 3 days, the 13th, 14th, and 15th of each month around the full moon. Okay, cool. So if that helps, that's awesome. I think, using like nature's cycles as your calendar for when to fast is a great idea. Love it. Um, and yeah, pandemic carnivore. I'm not sure what that reference is to. Oh, okay. So yeah, at Mia, um, I see the comment, don't listen to Stephanie Person, listen to your body. Trust me on that one. We here at Black Carnivore do not push a set amount of macros. You should eat fatty sources of meat and leave it at that. So there is not a need to hit a certain macro when it comes to fat. There's a minimum amount of protein that you need for your body, but there's a lot of leeway between, too little and too much. So, just eat as much as you need to be satisfied, and don't worry about the rest. And don't eat super lean meat. Make sure that you're getting 80-20 hamburger meat, or, getting some ribs, or if you can afford it, ribeye. But some people tend towards the leaner. I know Deborah likes things a little leaner, so maybe throw in some fish too, some New York strip steaks. Those are leaner. Those are some options as well. But yeah, don't try to eat 200 grams of butter a day. That would be not helpful. Yeah. But I'm glad you're here, Mia. You're going to get tons of great advice, and you come to the Zoom meetings and whatnot. You'll do great. And Seabliss says you have more than 200 grams of fat. Yeah. It's a lot. I wouldn't eat that in butter, but maybe in suet, tallow. I don't know. So, but yeah, Seabliss, you're getting 120 grams of protein too. So yeah, I mean that's right about where you might want to be. So any other concerns? I would love to talk with you all about that. So Romeo says you keep to 65 to 75 grams of fat per day. Um, wow. That seems really low. So I guess that sounds like you're doing like a 1-to-1 ratio protein to fat. So I would love to hear, what you think in terms of how you feel. Um, I know when I tried to do macros that low, in terms, well, keeping my fat and protein more or less even, I definitely did not feel happy. And not only, unhappy because I just, didn't like the taste and the flavor, but like my mood was impacted. I definitely need more fat to maintain like a more even and happier mood. And then I also noticed that my hunger was harder to keep under control. Fat does play a role there, but it's definitely a give and take of figuring out, how much you should have before you, are not meeting your weight loss goals. So, that's something to pay attention to, and know that that's something that might shift too in your journey. You might find later on that you need to have more fat. And especially as you get closer to your goal weight, you need to eat more fat because you have less in your body to burn and use as fuel. So you just don't have as much leeway there to eat super lean. So that's something to consider. Yeah, Mia, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. um, and of course, Romeo, like Pandemic says, you've got to do what feels best for your body. Um, yeah, Seabliss agrees that you need more fat than protein to keep your mood up. Yeah, it's really surprising, and I don't know if I've told you all this story, but like there was a time when I was trying to do like a protein sparing modified fast, and that is where you eat like as little fat as possible, and so and then the exact amount of protein that you need for your body, and then no more. And so it keeps your calories really low, but it preserves, it's supposed to be able to preserve muscle mass, and it forces your body to use like all body fat. So it's supposed to be the fastest way to lose weight while still eating and being healthy and not losing muscle. So but it also really messes with your head and with your mood and with your hormones, and it can be really, really damaging to your body. So I was doing it for a little while, and I didn't notice it, but I became more and more depressed over like the 2 or 3 weeks that I was kind of doing it. And then I got short ribs, and so I decided to just eat short ribs one day, and like within 20 minutes of eating it, all of a sudden it was like the heavens opened up and angels were singing. I felt so joyous, and there was no reason. I mean, nothing happened. Nothing had changed in that 20 minutes. There was no reason for me to suddenly feel joyous. And then, but there it was. And it was the fat from the short ribs. And it was at that moment that I realized how much of an impact that 3 weeks had been of eating low fat, and how much of a problem that was for me. So that was something that I noticed, and I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't like done the test and just gone super low fat. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. But if you feel like you're not as happy, or you're more moody, that's something to to look out for, and make sure that you're getting enough fat, or that it's quality fat. Mia says you feel better with all the butter. It's just getting used to it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. We've been told to be afraid of fat for so long that we just we have so little. So when we tell people eat more fat, like people are like 3 tablespoons instead of 2. And that's we're definitely talking about more fat than that. So Romeo, you feel great. You're eating 130 to 160 grams of protein, with the higher end on the weightlifting days. Okay, that's great. So if you feel good, then, that's perfect. And that's what you want. So I'm so glad that that's working out for you. So yeah, but as Sibylla says, that some people just are different in terms of how much fat that they can tolerate. But definitely you want to pay attention to that. So pandemic carnivore still consumes a lot of fat. Yeah, and she says, I just fear that people are afraid of fat and limit it because of that. Eat as much as you want and eat as much as your body can handle. Yeah, I agree. And, fat really tastes good. Like, we really tend to enjoy eating fat. So you don't want to skimp on it. If you are enjoying it and you feel good, then, kind of make sure you're getting it. Let's see. And Romea says, I've dropped almost to goal weight and notice I need a little more fat. Oh, wow. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you are, almost at your goal weight. That is such a major accomplishment. And it's, it's really difficult. Like, people have a hard time losing weight and getting healthy. And we're definitely living in a time where that is not the norm. So, Romea, brava. I'm very impressed, very proud. And Arian says, right, some days I crave it and eat a bunch. And that's a good thing to note as well, that you're not going to need or want the same fuel every single day. So, your days are different. How much you do each day is different. So therefore, how much fuel you need is going to be different from day to day. So, there may be days when you need more fat and other days when, you're just not that interested in it. So that's okay as well. Definitely give yourself that space. Let's see. So Kristen Williams says, I'm interested in alternate day fasting. I have been OMAD most days, but need to try more for my inflammation. But my schedule is definitely all over the place. So trying to figure out timing. Yeah, Kristen, I'm definitely, playing around with it myself. I'm not sure how much fasting I can really tolerate. Alternate day fasting is, it's a lot, and I don't like fasting. As we've talked about before, carnivore is a fasting mimicking diet. So I don't know exactly how much more benefit there is to fasting longer periods when you're already doing a carnivore diet. But that being said, when you're dealing with something specific like inflammation, there might well be a significant improvement. So it might well be worth it. So definitely reach out to me on Instagram. I'd love to chat with you more and hear more about how you're doing with it, because it might be cool to have like an inflammation fasting group. And I would love to hear from more people about that. Let's see. And thanks, Kristen. We are an awesome team. The Black Carnivore team is super supportive, super friendly, and just really amazing. And let's see. So NMSRA. I am so sorry. I've got to find a better way to say that. Says Stephanie isn't all about butter. She talks about suet all the time. Yeah, there's a lot of different sources of fat. I just think that having a specific amount of fat that you're trying to hit is difficult. I don't know. I seem to do best when my fat is not coming from butter, but is coming just from the fat that came with the meat. So eating fatty sources of meat is probably the gold standard, and then you supplement where you need to. And of course, butter tastes delicious, so having that supplemented is really delightful. Yes. Let's see. Kristen says, yes, if that would benefit me better with the inflammation. Yeah, so alternate day fasting, that's definitely going to be one of the quickest ways, unless you just do a straight up long fast. It's going to be one of the quickest ways to bring the inflammation down and keep it down for a longer period of time. So I'm definitely thinking about it. We'll see. We'll see for me, but I'm definitely going to do more fasts. It's not going to just be this one time. Yeah, Virginia, please, everybody, click the like button, subscribe, and click the little bell icon so you can get notification every time I go live. And we will surely have more interesting doctors and others on on the live stream. And I did talk to Dr. Tony Hampton today, so he is going to have me on his podcast, and he does a podcast and then a live stream right after to answer questions and stuff. And so the live stream we're going to do on Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to do that on his YouTube channel. So I encourage you all to remember that on Monday and head over to his YouTube channel, Dr. Tony Hampton, and you'll be able to have ask me questions, ask him questions, and get a lot of support there too. Okay, and Kristen says you've been working on, I guess, your inflammation for about 6 to 7 months. Yeah, inflammation and that kind of autoimmune stuff, I feel like it takes longer to to bring it under control. And as much as I would like the eczema and stuff to really turn around quick, I'm feeling like it might be a 90-day kind of deal before I really start to see significant gains. But we'll see. Yeah, Ariane, people often want to rush healing, and it does take time. It's unfortunate, but it can. Let's see. Kristen, thank you. I love to be here and have an opportunity to talk to all of you. Seabliss, yes, I'm so glad you're looking forward to it. And Virginia asks, what will you be talking about with Dr. Hampton? I think we're going to talk more about the carnivore diet. Since we last had an opportunity to talk to him, he has had a number of people on his podcast, and so it's gotten, I think, much more comfortable with carnivore. And told me today he had a lunch that was just ground beef. So, he's getting more comfortable with it. And this is what we want. A part of my reasoning for doing the Black Carnivore is just, if it's out there and you're seeing it and you're seeing people doing it, it normalizes it, and it creates carnivore as an option for people. So, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but to know that there are people doing it and who are doing it safely and successfully, like, that's really important. So, so I'm glad to have created this environment so that, we can get the word out there by by the mere fact of us just looking great and being healthy. That's the walking billboard. That's the best way to go about it. So yeah, and let's see, Arian wants to know what the topics of conversation are going to be. Yeah, so I think, like I said, we're going to talk about carnivore, and I think we'll probably talk a little bit about my story and, introducing me to his audience. And again, I would love to, maybe talk about how we might do a scientific study at Black Carnivore. But I think he is, he's really supportive of our community and very helpful. So, we have a very good ally there. All right, everybody. So this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your coming out, and I look forward to, I will let you know as soon as we get Dr. Kwadjo scheduled, and we'll let you know about that and let you know about the Zoom, and we'll have a great time. All right, so I will see you guys on Tuesday. That's right, on Tuesday. And I'm not sure what we're going to talk about then, but it's going to be a great live stream, and I'm looking forward to it. All right, so I will see you later. Have a great night.